this with us in person or online and streaming, you'll still be able to receive it. My name is Rosie Tooley, and I am the Executive Director of Lazarus Educational Services Incorporated. We work to help entrepreneurs build their businesses on a sound foundation. And it is my pleasure today to have I'm going to call you doctor, but
not yet.
Pastor Dave Shanosk as our guest. He is a very instrumental person in the industry. He shared part of his testimony with me about how he has been instrumental in helping to create the fraud detection services that banks now use to protect data. Yes, that's right. That's the caliber of presentation we're going to receive. But today, he's going to talk about innovation. How do you take what you have creatively and cause it to become more than it was and think of something new? I'm expecting that we're all going to be blessed with creative ideas. I hope that you have your pencil and paper ready, because when that idea comes, you need to capture it. And then after you've captured it, you need to work with it. So without further ado, here's Pastor Dave Shanosk. Pastor Dave.
Thank you, Dr. Rosie. So before we get started, I just want to take a moment to where honor is due. Can we just take a moment to celebrate Dr. Rosie Tooley in the house
Yes.
today? We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you. I haven't had the privilege of being in the building yet, but it is amazing. It is just beautiful, and your life's work, your sacrifice, the energy that you give to all of us. I mean, myself included, I'm on the receiving side of Rosie Tooley.
Yes.
And that never gets old, so we love you so much. And we're your friends and family, and thank you for letting us partner with you on this journey. So thank you for allowing me to be here. It's a privilege. It's not anything else other than that. So if we have people coming in and out, that's certainly fine too. But I know we have some people watching online, so we appreciate you watching online at another time. So some of the things that we do, we may have it be more conversational in the room, but for those online, I know that you're going to be encouraged as well. So for the form and format of this, Dr. Rosie, how long would you like me to have? Do you want me to stop at 10, or what are your thoughts?
Stop when you're finished.
All right, I'll see you. We'll stop at 1. So let's go. But I know that some of the conversations we've already had are going to be encouraging. So as I was praying for all of you all here today, the thing that really was I was encouraged about is you may not, there's a lot of information that I have to present, right? So just be conscious of that. It's a lot of data, it's a lot of information, and some of it could be outside of your maybe expertise, which is perfectly fine. But one thing that was clear for me on what God was going to do for all y'all today is God was going to give you an idea or something very specific that you're going to take and run with. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like sometimes in these environments, sometimes it's not 50 things. Sometimes it's one thing that triggers you. And the one thing that definitely I heard from the Lord around today was for all of us here today, all of us in this room, is for some of you, you may have wanted to give up. And my prayer for today is that it's just a little bit of encouragement for all of you today that you just straight up don't give up. Like if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, I think sometimes that's half the battle. Like we'll get into the product innovation, we'll get into some of that stuff, but I think sometimes again, it's like, all right, I'm waking up today. I don't know why I'm in this room, but Lord, you're here. So as Dr. Rosie said, I am a pastor. I'm an executive pastor at Word of Life. But before that, I was actually at Bank of America for 22 years. I did a whole bunch of things from an industry perspective. I've done retail at Bank of America. So I was there when remember back in the day when MBNA owned it. So you've been around any length of time. I worked at MBNA there for a while. And then when Bank of America took over, I was still there. I went on the business side. So I did a lot of retail stuff, a lot of customer engagement. So for all of you all, depending on where you are from a career standpoint, it all ties in. Sharon, like we were talking, like some of your experiences, sometimes you wake up like, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. Like, Lord, I don't want to do this. But all of those experiences are for your betterment. Does that make sense? Like, I look back at some days, I'm like, I don't want to do this today. But I also look back at those experiences. I'm thankful for all those too. So I've been married 22 years. I got 2 girls, 16 and 11. Yeah. The older one's got her permit, so pray for me. Yeah. She's watching now online. I'll pray for you. But it's a great season in our lives. My wife has been at Chase for 20 years. In the presentation today, I'm actually presenting not on behalf of the church, not on behalf of any pastoral assignment, but that's something I've done for the last 6 years full time. I've been ordained for quite a while. But I'm actually presenting on behalf of the company that my wife and I own, which is Shanosk Management Group. So I'll get into a little bit of that, but this isn't a sales pitch about what we do. It's just something that we have. We have, I think Dr. Rosie and I have kindred spirits from a marketplace standpoint and a business standpoint and a church standpoint. I think sometimes people try to separate them, but God has never done that. He's never done that from a biblical standpoint. It all ties together. So this is something my wife and I have outside of the local church. And it is basically, we come alongside, we do a lot of things. We help people scale their businesses. We help people grow their businesses. We help people come alongside them from an operational standpoint. One company that we're working with now, they're probably $3 to $4 million company. We're working with them and talking through them how to get to 10 to 15 million. It may sound like a big deal, but sometimes it's just small changes. With that company, it's basically their onboarding process. There's some opportunities with their onboarding process. Because sometimes you may have a good product, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. Sometimes you can have a great product, but your onboarding isn't good. Sometimes the relationship part isn't good. And depending on where all of you are from a business standpoint, the relationship part of it is one of the key instrumental parts in that. So yeah, I've done a lot of great stuff. I finished my career in, mostly it was strategic roles, but I finished my career at Bank of America. I was actually in fraud strategy, so I worked a lot with data compromise events. So that was probably maybe 10 years ago at that time. I managed a team in India, I managed a team in Phoenix, and I worked a lot with FBI, Secret Service, and Homeland Security and all that. So again, as I'm in the church world, there's nothing separate from that, you know what I mean? So my marketplace experiences help me with the church experiences. Now it helps me with the business side, helping people grow and scale their businesses. So again, I'm telling you, the one thing that God was very clear to me on today is, some of y'all that have wanted to give up, you're not going to give up, and you're going to be encouraged before you leave here, right? Amen?
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
All right. Good morning, morning.
Good morning.
Come on in.
All right.
What's your name again?
Sherrard Flames.
Good to see you.
How you doing?
How's the business going?
It's going.
All right, we'll talk about that today as well. So we're just getting started. You know, again, Dave Shanosk, I'm here to love on you, encourage you guys, and I think this is going to be a very collaborative day too. So some of the formal slides, again, you may just take 1 or 2 things from today. I'm going to give you 50 things, but please don't get overwhelmed. But we're talking about product innovation. And why Dr. Rosie wanted me to maybe talk about that, because of my 20 to 25 years of experience around products, around innovation. I will say, from a product innovation standpoint, just so you know the background on why, a little bit of why I'm talking about this today, because in my last 2 divisions where I worked in from a career standpoint, y'all know text messaging, obviously, right? But back in the early 2000s, that wasn't as common of a practice. It was kind of common from you remember back in the day, and we'll talk about some of the stuff back in the day, but back in the day, remember you had to pay like 5 cents, 10 cents a text? It wasn't unlimited texting, all that fun stuff. And then even companies didn't utilize texting, right? So a lot of times when you sign up for websites and all that, what do you get? You get text messages, you get confirmations. But this is, when I was in the division, for me, when I present to you all this, it's I prayed to the Lord on what I should do. And I think half the time in business, not half the time, all the time, that's the approach that I'm coming from, depending on your background or experience. the reason why I am where I am and the reason why the ideas that I had are only from God and the Holy Spirit. Like if I stand here and say, yeah, I'm good, it's me, look at me. I am not. I'm standing here saying, look what God has done in spite of me, you know what I mean, in spite of my deficits. So I was in collection strategies at the time. You know, you make your credit card payment, you don't want to pay your bills, all that fun stuff. I said, Lord, how do I make this process better? And the Lord gave me an idea. It says, what would it look like if you sent a text message to the customer and say, hey, Mr. Smith, how you doing? Just a reminder, you know, you have to pay your bills. And that one idea actually transformed the industry because the industry at the time wasn't doing that. Now it's pretty common, right? You know, hey, you know, Dr. Rosie, you forgot to pay your bill this month. But we as a company and corporation were one of the first to do the text messaging. And again, it was not me, it was God presented that opportunity to me at that time. And then from there, the incremental impact to the business was millions and millions of dollars. Wow. So how many knows from a corporation standpoint, that gets people to pay attention, right?
Just from that single
millions. It was that single thing. And again, it wasn't me. That was a God. Like I prayed for that decision. And that's, you know, for all of you, as you're starting your businesses, as you're innovating products, as you're innovating kind of some of the things on your heart, that's the first thing you all have to do is pray. Say, Lord, I am scattered at 1,500 places. How can you help me pinpoint it and be more laser focused on maybe 1 to 2 things? And that's what Cheryl and I were talking about a little bit earlier too. If we focus on 29 things at a time, we're not capable of processing that many things at a time. That's where your business can suffer, your family can suffer, your health can suffer, all that. So from the text messaging, then another department, fraud, took over that. Now at that time, they were sending fraud messages to say, you know, hey, did you make this charge? That didn't exist before I came in and brought that to the company. So I brought it to 2 divisions within the company. And then when I moved over to collection strategies, they were basically, how do we find the breaches sooner? And this was a pretty wild idea at the time. I said, well, you've got to work with the other banks and financial institutions. At the time, we didn't talk. I was at Bank of America, we didn't talk to Chase, we didn't talk to Citi, we didn't talk to any of the big people, because if your company's seeing the breach and your company's seeing the breach, well, I'm going to see the breach too. So I basically set up a meeting with all the top leaders from those companies, and we met almost weekly. So if they would tell me about breaches or stores or impacts that they were having financially, and that again brought millions to the company. And then they said, all right, how do we get better now? And they said, we have to be on the dark web. You guys know what the dark web is? It's basically the majority of the internet traffic. If you see the World Wide Web, it's a very, very small fraction of all the information that's out there from a global standpoint. The dark web is, you have to go through a different way, but it's where all your fraud, all your issues occur. Like you can go on the dark web and get anything you want, unfortunately, at any time and get it shipped to your house. So what we did was we worked with the FBI, again, the Holy Spirit idea. We worked with the FBI and we had fake credit cards. Don't tell anybody online. This is secret. But we actually had fake credit cards that we sold on the web, and the FBI tracked where it was sold to. So again, when we talk about product innovation, it all stems together depending on your business or whatever, wherever you're at. It all ties together, whether you're walking dogs or whether you're starting a laundromat. It all works the same. It's all like, Lord, what do you want me to do? And how do you want me to do it? And then how do I surround myself with people like Dr. Rosie and rooms like this where we can kind of walk through some of those ideas together, right? So even my business, Shanosk Management Group, it was basically started from ideas from leaders in the industry that do things on a global scale. So, like, why wouldn't God want to use my wife and I, that between us have 45 years of experience from an industry standpoint? Why not? Like, I could say I'm just a pastor, but candidly, I am a pastor. I actually did a service and a funeral yesterday, and I preach and teach and all that stuff. But it doesn't neglect the giftings that he's had for all of us the last quite a few years. Like where you're at, I'm really excited for even what you've done in the city. God's going to use some of that. You know? In Jesus' name. Yeah. It's good stuff. So product innovation, it's the creation of new or significantly improved products, services, or processes to fill customers' needs, enhance values, and maintain a competitive edge. So that's kind of the high level there. And some of you, depending on where you're at in the life cycle of a business, if you haven't started yet, that's where we could be. Like we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Like you haven't started some of the stuff that God's placed in your heart. Have you started a business yet or anything? Is anything?
I've started a business and I got something I want to bring to the market.
Really?
2 items.
So it's perfect timing for you to talk about.
You're right. It is.
What is the business you're currently involved with today?
Right now, I need to get some contracts with Shaw Hathaway for cleaning.
Yeah, I love it. Is that an active contract that exists?
Yeah, it's in process.
I love it. And one thing that is probably really good timing for you is I think the way that Dr. Rosie and anyone who she surrounds herself with, she creates an encouraging environment to say, why stop? Why stop here, right? And that's where some of the other ideas come in, like, all right, I've got that cleaning concept or that cleaning thing, why couldn't I do a couple other things over here too? And I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a couple of things. A couple other things are really, really big. So
Yeah.
I have to connect with the right people to get it.
And I think today, when we walk through some of this, we can get to this, and I'll make sure Dr. Rosie sends you this. So if we don't get to all of it, it's perfectly fine. But I think I'd almost prefer rather some of this and let God kind of do his thing around the personal interactions. And I think, and you said something that kind of I want to latch on to there. You said it's really, really big. Like, why couldn't it be something that's a game changer or an industry changer? Like, why couldn't that come from this group or this community or this state? And I think a lot of times we limit ourselves, like, oh, let me make my $5,000 here, or my $8,000 here, let me sell a couple t-shirts. I've got some ROI stuff I'll look at with you a little bit today too. But why not think way bigger? And actually, your dream almost should scare you a little bit.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I see that, but like then you get to a point, it's like, oh, that's not, like, I'm not capable of doing that. And as you include your faith in that, with God, all things are possible. Why not? Like the last contract my wife and I bid to a company was pretty large, and it was basically $60,000 for a year from a services standpoint, but only giving them about 10 hours a week. So if you get 10 of those, you're talking about $600K. Like we're not at that place, and we don't lose sleep over the financial part. But again, you do have to generate some sort of income to for your business to move forward. So. Is your business idea bigger than 500,000?
Yes, it is.
Let's go.
I was listening to a minister a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that your personal vision, God always give you bigger things because that's so that he can help. Because you're going to need his help to bring it to pass.
Yeah.
Because I used to always say, maybe 10 years ago, I don't know what lies up. There's a statement. I hear people say, penny for your thought. And I would say to my classmate, no, these are millionaire thoughts. These aren't penny thoughts.
Yeah. I love it.
No.
Yeah.
And God gives us those visions because he knows that we need his help to bring it to pass.
And I think also, how God set this up today, and even some of the issues that we're having on the line today, I think God just wanted us to be here right now at this moment to maybe generate something that he's going to do to change an entire sphere going forward. Mm-hmm. Like I think all of us potentially needed to hear your 500,000 plus idea, and or even just be encouraged around it, because I think half the time, probably the majority of the time, we're our worst enemies. Mm-hmm. Like I can't do it. We're not good enough. I don't have the skills. I don't have the capital. I've got to pay for this school loan. I've got to feed my family. All of those fun things, and it could lead you to a point where you're almost at a deficit where you can't move forward. The other thing that really was clear to me around today was that we all need to be together to make sure we don't quit. As we keep moving forward as friends and family. And I think we're going to be friends going forward. Like, take business out of it, but I think this is what the Lord has intended for us to just be here and say, no, we got this. Like, hey, did you think about this concept, or did you think about that? So, so it's perfect timing from an innovation standpoint. Again, even if we get a couple ideas, and maybe some of these things we talk about today from bringing a marketplace may help you out a little bit too.
Can I add something?
Yes, ma'am.
This brings to mind an opportunity that just opened for me. I have a neighbor who's from Kenya, And she's been asking me for years to go with her home. And it happens that this year, next month, I'm actually going with her. And then on TV, I saw that the president of Kenya was visiting our president, and they have a favored nation status. And I asked her about economy in Kenya, and she said that most of them are entrepreneurs. And so when I got my visa, it said that you had to have permission from the government to even talk about business. So guess what I'm gonna do? So when I'm there, because I'm only there for 5 or 6 days, but while I'm there, I do intend to find out more about how to do business with Kenyan people, with the Kenyans. Absolutely. Lazarus International.
I love it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a group that we are friends with. It's called Africa New Life, and they are based out of Rwanda. But what if that ministry, as they grow, basically they provide schooling and education and things like that to the communities in Rwanda. Rwanda is a fairly small country. But now there's other countries around them saying, hey, can you bring that to my nation as well? But what if they were saying, no, we're good, we're only Rwanda New Life, or whatever the case is. And I think a lot of times it's the Lord presents a friendship or relationship that opens up doors that we never thought possible. But I think a lot of times if Dr. Rosie were to be in that environment, like what if she were actually able to spend time with the president? Like what would that look like? What would it look like if she was able to spend time with the leadership of that, that group or that area? Sometimes it could be one handshake or one interaction where they want to bring you into maybe 5 or 6 other facilities. Because you think about a Christiana Care, right, or something like that. If you were to get a cleaning contract or something like that, I know there's other intricacies with that. You open up a door like that, now you got Maryland, now you got Pennsylvania, now you got Delaware, whatever the case is. So why not us? Why not us? Like, why not us?
Exactly.
And I think, again, sometimes we're our own limitations. And even for me, pastorally, I love what I do. I am a great pastor, right? I love it.
Yes.
I love people. It's not like look at me, but like this is my anointing and calling. But if I didn't utilize some of the other things that God's given me as well, I would be doing a disservice to the kingdom of God. So, yeah, great stuff. So why innovate? Market differentiation ensures that our product stands out. We have to stand out in what we do. Customer satisfaction is huge. If we provide a product and nobody comes back to it, what is the value of that? Market share, it translates to greater market share and influence in sales. And long-term business sustainability. I think sometimes like a sustainable idea or sustainable business would be something like a mortgage loan, right? I did mortgage loans for a while. To make money in the mortgage industry, if you're just like an originator, you got to keep selling loans. Like you can't, like you sell a loan, all right, you got to sell 3 more. Like if you don't sell any more loans, you don't get any more income. But what would it look like from a business standpoint if you love the sales concept, but there's industries like insurance where if you make the sale for your car, your house, your boat, or whatever, maybe shake their hand or call them or send them a message once a year to say, hey, happy birthday. But like insurance, once you make that sale, most of the time, most of us are staying with that insurance company for quite a long time. Now that's called residual income. Mm-hmm. So now I make that sale, I make that 10 of those, I'm basically moving on. That's why those guys and gals can go from 100 to 200 to 300 to 500,000 plus. And a lot of times when they've been in the industry for maybe 20 plus years, they're basically, the professional term, they're chilling, right? Like, they are chilling. They have done well. They are relationship managers. You enjoy engaging with them, but you have to pay attention to that from a long-term sustainability standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So from a long-term and sustainability standpoint, and then from a market standpoint, and then how your company stands out. Blockbuster. You remember Blockbuster back in the day? Did Blockbuster make it? Blockbuster did not make it. I remember back in the day, I loved going to Blockbuster. I loved seeing the movie behind the thing. And then I loved when I went to Blockbuster, going through the tray, right? That didn't get put out yet. But, it's in the tray. Or I would look to see, I remember when people walked in, I remember looking to see what movie they were turning back in. But one thing Blockbuster didn't change is they didn't change for the times.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Like it was a cool model. We all went there, we all did it, but they just didn't shift. Yeah. And they didn't move to streaming. They just basically kind of dug their feet in and said, "No, this is kind of what we're going to do." So that's a really good example. Record stores,
Mm-hmm.
record stores, tape stores, DVD stores, CDs, all that fun stuff. That's another great example too. There may be one up here in town. There may be one or two smaller ones. I don't know how they're doing financially. I know I'm down in Newark, so I know there's like Wonderland Records on Main Street. I don't know how they're still in business. I think they sell other things, to keep their market afloat. But if I'm still selling records and CDs and all that fun stuff, I don't know how much longer you're going to be in business. For me personally, I don't have a DVD player in my house anymore. I could access one, I probably have some somewhere, but everything is streamable now, you know what I'm saying? So again, if you dig your heels and go, nah, I'm only gonna sell records, well I can tell you, you're probably gonna struggle, right? So yeah, it just kind of gets you thinking from a product innovation standpoint. Types of product innovation. We have incremental, so it's kind of minor updates such as, upgrades in your smartphone. A good example to like an incremental update or incremental to your phones. Like I remember when iPhones came out, I don't remember the year, but I remember when they came out, it was like so cool, so awesome. But one thing that Apple did, and now the industry is doing the same thing, if I were to go today to buy an Apple iPhone, the camera's not what it was. Like candidly, if Apple would have said, this is the only product we're ever gonna provide, well candidly, back in the day, I remember the battery time was pretty bad on those phones. I think it was a couple hours you had to charge it, remember that? And then the phone quality was really poor actually, right? So again, I'm not gonna go spend money on an old 15-year-old Apple phone, or any kind of phone for that matter, because the phone's not as good, the length of time, the battery lasts and all that fun stuff. So they had to do some innovation. Now their incremental piece of information, like right now for your smartphones in general, you could open up your phone, like Dr. Rosie's streaming right now from not a computer, but basically a tablet. Like that didn't exist 15 to 20 years ago. So that is an example of incremental product innovation. Disruptive innovation would be innovators like Netflix, how they transition to streaming. So you guys know Netflix, right? Do you remember how they started? Do you remember what their original business model was? Do you guys remember what it was? It was DVDs by mail. Do y'all remember that?
Oh yeah.
You know how long ago that was? Like it took me a second. I'm like, because when I think of Netflix, I think of Netflix as, the streaming thing, my kids want it, I canceled it, you're raising your prices, whatever. But it was back in the day, it was that DVD that would get shipped to your house. Mm-hmm. And if they would have blockbustered themselves, you know what I'm saying? Like if they would have stayed where they were, they would not be who they are today. And part of who they are today is they have 269 million paid memberships in 190 countries. That's pretty amazing. And what executives or what leadership team maybe sat in a room like this, like a mastermind, and said, hey, we got to change. Like, what's that look like? And even from a streaming standpoint, back in the day, the internet wasn't as common in my home or in certain homes. We couldn't afford it. And then the quality of internet, right, kind of took a while to get there. So if they would have offered a streaming service when the internet first came out, that wouldn't have worked. You know what I'm saying? Because the stream, we all hate buffering and we hate all that, but that's where the timing of your businesses and the timing of your product innovation really comes into play. So I think that's a really good example with that. Then from a radical innovation standpoint, it's basically major technological advancements. Tesla's a great example of that. So right now, for me having a Tesla, it's not in my budget. I can't afford it, and then I like to take longer trips. I went to Tennessee on my motorcycle a couple weeks ago, you know what I mean? And where I go, there are no gas stations. There's no electric chargers. Okay. There are gas stations that aren't electric chargers. So for me, and the type of travel my family does, Most of our trips as a family were 5 hours plus. I think we went to her sister's house a couple hours away, maybe 3 hours away over the weekend, which was a great time. So the Tesla would have made it on that type of trip, but anything more than that, I do not want to stop, find a charger, and sit away a half hour while my 11-year-old is bugging out. You know what I mean? So the disruptive part of product innovation for Tesla is, I don't know if you heard or not, but Tesla's rolling out, or talking about rolling out, whether they do it or not, I think they will. They're talking about rolling out an $8,000 electric car. Now I would rethink my personal, approach to electric cars for $8,000. My daughter's looking for a car now. $8,000 doesn't sound too bad. Maybe have to invest in a charger in the home. The problem is, with a product innovation standpoint, is if all of us drove Teslas today, where would we charge our cars?
That's my big question.
Nobody's talking about that. Like, y'all want, like California, everyone, I'm not against it. I'm not, getting into anything around it. But if you want all of us to drive that thing, what are we going to do? Like, I don't even want to get into the grid and the support of that fun stuff. But right now, even if all of us it's just straight up in Wilmington were to drive electric cars, there is no place to charge them. Like, I've been to gas stations that have the chargers. I've seen them all full. I've seen people waiting.
Yeah, I see it.
And then from a product innovation standpoint, a product disruptive standpoint, I've also seen if you roll out electric cars to a cold climate, they do not do well. Like, they may be half of their charge. If they say, all right, this car could last 300 miles, it could last 100 when it's maybe 0 degrees in Chicago. Chicago is a great example of that, right? So if you think about product innovation, you have to think about all of those things, how they play into it. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, right?
Excellent stuff.
All right. So how does the product innovation cycle look like? And again, this can translate almost to any industry, but I wanted to put a lot of this data on here for you to maybe get your mind thinking, get your wheels spinning on how some of this could work, right? So starts with ideation, concept development. I'm going to walk through the next couple slides into more detail what some of these are. The designing phase, the testing phase, the marketing phase. So depending on where you're at from a business standpoint, some of this makes sense, some of this doesn't. Like for my business that my wife and I started, Shanosk Management Group, it was actually started because of a need where a client said, hey, I have a problem statement. And my wife and I said we need how to fix it. So we started a management company to fix that solution. So we had to scramble to get the business account set up. We don't have a website. Candidly, the way our business is structured, it's going to be more word of mouth. I'm not set up yet to receive clients online. From a scalability standpoint, I'm not ready for that. So that would be a great example of product innovation. If I were to market a product that I can't support yet, that would, basically, I wouldn't have those customers come back. Like, I thought you had this management group. I thought you could help me scale my business. But if I say I don't have the time, well, then it's not yet ready to go to marketplace, right? From a marketing standpoint. So depending on where everyone is around this, and I'm going to go into the slides here in more detail. The first one is a really great, and I believe, and Dr. Rosie mentioned it earlier, even upstairs we have a business incubator, right?
Yes.
And I think a business incubator, and we even talk about this from a church perspective, the business incubator goes into master classes, goes into specialties, goes into collaboration, and I think that's probably what was missing over the last 50 years, because it was, as I've grown up, it was this is what the market's can tolerate, this is what we're going to do, and they didn't include some of the collaboration amongst different businesses and fields and mindsets and skill sets and all that. So that's kind of where ideation comes in. It's the brainstorming, right? It's the kind of visualization. It's kind of writing down that central theme of what you're thinking. To simplify, it's basically brainstorming. Like when I think about Cheryl, we had a lot of time to talk about business and some of the things that were on her mind. That's why my first question to Cheryl this morning was, did you write it down? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we have a lot of things. I almost think of it like a shotgun approach. Like a shotgun, shoots a bunch of BBs and it kind of goes all over the place. My heart for all of us is that we would be more laser pinpoint focused, like a sniper that's one shot on this thing and this business, and this is my focus. Because if you're so scattered and can't support that business and that business, and candidly, we all know it's hard to find great people that we can rely on and trust sometimes. And that's where leadership development, that's another topic we could talk about another time. But that's, again, writing it down, even brainstorming. God's going to give us ideas on moments like this, but what would it look like to have a master class upstairs? Why not? Why couldn't we do that? 100% we could. And it's taking it from writing it down on like a piece of paper to maybe formalizing it in like a Word document or PowerPoint or whatever you're comfortable with. And say, all right, as I write it down, I need to get more focused on, instead of these 37 things, let me get focused on 3. And I think people misunderstand sometimes. No, I got to be everywhere. I got this business, that business. I have 40 things. I'm telling you, I've seen people and companies and marriages and relationships fail because they're too focused on too many things. What would it look like to have 3 main things that you're focused on? And really, from the 3, you can take it down to kind of 1, right? So, so that's where kind of all that ties together.
Can I ask a question there?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you're the person with the 55 things to do and you're bringing it down to 3, what about the other 52 things? What do you do with that?
Depends what they were. Give some examples of what the 55 things could be.
Okay, so honestly, I have 5 businesses in one location, including that upstairs. And so all of them require the same kind of care, but individualized. For example, with marketing, I need to market our services to adult entrepreneurs. And then there's marketing for the summer camp for kids that are entrepreneurs. And then there's the STEAM program. And then there's the other aspects of it, all those other things. And my concern has been that really I know that I can't do everything at the same time. So I focused on one thing and just let the other one slide. But is that what you recommend, or is there another way to deal with those other 52?
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought it up. Because this is, in rooms like this, I get blessed and encouraged just as much as everyone else. So as you're speaking, from a church world, that means discipleship. From a business standpoint, it's leadership development. And candidly, what people don't understand is that leadership development is straight up biblical. In the Old and New Testament, it's very clear. I'll write a book on it in Jesus' name at some point, because we don't talk about the biblical aspect of duplicating yourself. Because in the Old Testament, what do they say? Hey, you're doing too much. You can't, Old and New Testament, you can't feed them fish, you can't feed them physical food, and feed them spiritual food at the same time. Even pastorally and leadership development, the same thing. Even with my wife and I, as we start this business, she's got one aspect of it. I've got more of the sales, kind of that standpoint. So for you, Rosie, the first thing I thought about was leadership development and how do we put the right people in the right roles. And I think the misunderstanding is sometimes with leadership development, we get a warm body and throw them in a place where they're not capable of doing that function. It does the person a disservice, it does your business a disservice, candidly it does the Lord a disservice too. And then it creates frustration with the person and with the person that's overseeing them as well, because you can have basically 2 to 3 years of frustration from all parties involved. But you could have just prayed about it up front and said, all right, Lord, provide me the right person with that gifting or that skill set that loves this as much as I do. Like for Dr. Rosie, I said earlier, she loves this. And I get excited because she's excited, and I want to come alongside her and partner with whatever God's doing. And I told her, I said, I don't care what I'm here for. I'll speak on whatever you want, but let me be part of the thing. And that excitement and that calling and that anointing is contagious. You know what I'm saying? So then my prayer for you and your prayer is Lord, provide me the right people. The Bible talks about that the workers can be few at times, right? Because it is a narrow road with a specialty and all that stuff, but what would it look like to develop them and all that?
Thank you.
Then you start to, because who else do you have? What's the structure, Dr. Rosie, of the organization here? I know it's you as the director. Who else do you have?
I don't.
That's it. Yeah.
See, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I know now that I need to have a person specifically to handle marketing.
Yeah.
I love people. Marketing. Oh, Cheryl.
Well, technology is another thing too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it has to be technology.
That's true.
I need someone who is savvy with technology
yeah.
and who has a heart and care and passion for helping people
Yeah.
who need support, and who can work within our budget.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Which sometimes, let's be real here, sometimes the budget is zero.
See?
Like, we don't like to talk about that, but the church rules the same thing, right? My budget is zero for volunteers at times, right? So I love you, but like, I can't afford to pay you 50 grand. Like, that's just not how this is set up. Like, even for me, from an industry standpoint, when I went from the marketplace in corporate to pastoring, I didn't do it for the money. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't do it to make money. I didn't do it for the finances. I did it because that's what the Lord wanted me to do. So then the prayer is, how do we come alongside you to pray for that person, that function, or whatever the case is?
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it's speaking out, and then the speaking out's got to end up on paper.
I'm sorry, you said something about zero, the budget is zero, something.
Like Dr. Rose.
Ministry, in ministry.
Yeah. Like for me to have kids ministry, you know, people serving in kids ministry, ushers, greeters, you know, some of the things, you know, the senior pastor, right, there's a thing, and then maybe something like I'm a support team member at my church. I get some basic compensation, but like for my volunteers that run the church, I don't have a budget to pay all that.
Yeah. See,
You know what I mean?
I struggle with that, but we can talk about that later. Because I've worked for nonprofits. I work for World Impact.
Yeah.
They're from California,
Okay.
Los Angeles. So I saw a lot of things
Yeah.
in marketing, and I just don't understand why you can't use, why some churches don't use some of that to be able to take care of their staff or something.
I say amen to that.
Yeah, that's it.
You're preaching to the choir.
That's about it.
But again, that's where good stewardship comes in. Like I think of this company specifically, this nonprofit. Like I think of Rosie, I don't even bat an eye. I know that this is handled well and all of that. So and that comes into marketing and communication and all that stuff. So good stuff. Anything else on that?
Well, we're people of faith, and I don't speak lack.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't believe in. My family, my daughters, my son, my grandchildren, my home, I don't speak lack. I believe there's a way.
All right.
You know, yeah, so.
Amen. We're staying with you.
A couple of what is your name, sir?
Oh, so eager.
He had said something about adults that are retired and have nothing to do. So there are opportunities that we need to look for, Ms. Rosa needs to look for out there. There are people that have the skills, may not know your business that you're out there, but you need to now ask. You need to find out whether there's a niche right there. You can possibly find out, does these adults that are attending your little class have a passion for what Ms. Rosie may need?
Yeah.
You know, Dr. Rosa may need. So stuff like that. Or maybe there's a student that has those skills that you can help to grow. May not, you don't have to pay them, but you help them to grow, you know, in some other way, compensate them. But I really think the ideas are out there. We just have to plant the seed and just bring them in. The Lord will bring them in.
Yeah, part of it's a lot of times it's something that drives you internally, like a frustration. Like I tell people, don't be frustrated. You're frustrated because you're called to fix it.
Right.
But then it's also market identification too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people candidly don't think of people 65, 70 plus. They just don't. They can be an afterthought. I've spent the majority of my life around people of that age because I was in the golf business. I was all around all that stuff. So all my buddies were professors and lawyers and doctors, and that was a God thing too. But all my buddies, I was 20 getting marketing advice and getting investment advice, which is why I am where I am now financially, from those guys that were 70. So, but that is a unique marketing niche that, you know, that's something the Lord will provide to you as well. My marketing niche for Shanosk Management Group is basically, it is Christian businesses, and it is also churches that don't know how to scale. A lot of businesses don't know how to scale. Some people are perfectly comfortable. I make my 300K, I make my 200K, but a lot of people are like, I want to make $1 million plus, but I don't know how to get there. That's my marketing niche. Because here's what we bring from a family perspective. This isn't me again. This is all God. Here's what I bring. I bring the prophetic, I bring the spiritual, and I bring the business knowledge. That's my business niche. Like, you can hire any other, like, there are a million more people that know way more about business than I do, but I'm telling you, they don't have what my wife and I have as a spiritual. Like, I can come to your business, your company, your organization, I can train your teams, I can train your staff, I can walk through de-escalation with some of the frustration within the organization, but I can also identify opportunities for profit margins too. Like, a lot of pastors can't have that talk, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's fine. But the Lord's in this season of my life, the Lord's really reminding me of who I am. Does that make sense? And I think the Lord's doing that for all of us just today too. So, like, I'm standing faith with you. Like, why not us? I want that big, huge, scary dream, you know? Like what would it look like for you if you had coaches under you? Like, that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
Because I've got friends that are Christian counselors, right? And, you know, they can, like, a Christian counselor is a great example. Talking about products and innovation, this all ties together. If you think about a Christian counselor or a therapist, right? They make as much money as each slot will give them. Does that make sense? You make your $100 for that session, you make 2, whatever the number is. So how many sessions can you do a day? You can do 8 sessions, so it's $800, 800. You want to work 5 days a week at 8 clients a day? Maybe, right? So it's 8 clients a day, so it's, you know, what, $100 there. So $800 times 5, right? So it feels like a lot, but at times you're still limited from an income standpoint. Does that make sense? Like, what happens if you're a Christian counselor or a Christian group? That's why we're called our Business Shanosk Management Group, because I don't just want it to be the people that I employ. Why couldn't it be where you had coaches underneath you? So now I have 5 coaches underneath me, and then what people don't think about from a product innovation standpoint is, what does online look like? Like, what happens, what would it look like for one of us in this room to pay for a subscription service to be in a master class on a regular basis? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people pay thousands of dollars for that. Like, if they're millionaires, like that, I'm telling you, I have business friends that have spent $100,000 or more on master classes, on marketing, you know, communication and all that fun stuff. Like, what happens if we created a company, maybe this is a company that's forming, where they could pay for that subscription service and they could jump on an environment like this and they could pay $20 a month. But $20 a month doesn't sound like a lot, but you get 5,000 people at $20 a month. Now it changes. Like, I really, like, we can coach so many clients personally. And I just met with someone a few weeks ago in Tennessee around this, that he wanted to bring me into his coaching network because he's leading the effort up, but he's got maybe 20 coaches underneath him that do executive coaching. So this is where the master class and ideas and the concepts start to kind of flow. Concept development is basically where you take it and help it narrow down. We've talked about that a little bit already. So it's like, you got the big picture. The concept is, how do I narrow it down to, you know, from these 57 things or whatever they are. A concept like t-shirt printing, right? So what if you wanted to do t-shirt printing, but you wanted to come out of the gate, you're all excited, you have all these ideas, and you have 429 SKUs. A SKU is a t-shirt, a size, a graphic. It's potentially too much unless you walk with that concept with a group like this. Hey, Dr. Rose, what do you think? I'm going to do t-shirts. I got 450 different options. Well, how are you going to capitalize that? Where does the money come from that? And, you know, all that fun stuff. So that's where kind of narrowing down your ideas is helpful. Good stuff?
Excellent.
Can I just?
Yes, sir.
I love how, just going back, I mean, it's been a few minutes, but I love how you identified, which is something that I would do when I was career coaching, like even with the government. I do it a lot now. But 2 things, writing it down to make it real. You know, it's just dancing around here until you write it down and you connect your physical with what's on that paper, and it becomes real once you write it down. But also something you mentioned about when you're called to solve a specific problem. You know, just last night I was in a session and was talking to this family, this young man in the family, and I said, what do you care about? What problem do you wish to solve? I don't know, I said, you care about something. We can be in a room full of 100 people, and you can be the only one that cares about a certain thing. Saving dolphins, I don't know, cleaning up oceans. It could be anything, right? Mm-hmm. But it bothers you because there's a solution brewing inside. And then it comes to a point, I have to do something about this. That's why most people that start out, they don't make any money. They go off the mission. And that's where the mission is developed. That fire that you talk about, it's just there. I have to do something about this. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it keeps me up at night sometimes. It's a dream that, like you said, we know entrepreneurs very uncomfortable because, like you were mentioned, some of the folks that are advanced in their age, they've retired or whatever, they essentially kind of have this program in their mind that, well, I did that for 40 years. I don't know if there's anything else for me. Until we start exploring and having that deeper conversation about, well, wait a minute, you care about something. Don't tell me that we're not here to take up space. We weren't brought here to take up space. So I just wanted to acknowledge, I love how you acknowledge that, you're called to do something that matters to you.
So piggyback on that too.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. I wasn't texting. I was writing something down. But that's what I think when he gives you that burning passion or desire to start the thing. A lot of times, what we were talking about today is sometimes you'll leave your place. You'll leave your income and jump into the pool without swimming and without knowing how to swim and all that fun stuff. So that's where the career, the coaching, the counseling, the brotherhood, sisterhood comes in, the fellowship, the friendship, the master classes. Like we would say, hey, please don't quit your job, because it may take some time to generate some income and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's a misunderstanding sometimes. They get an idea, I'm going to go do this on the side or whatever, and you make crickets. Like I've known people over the years that they take a lot of time in generating a thing, but say it's woodworking, right? It sounds cool, the product is awesome, and my question is always, and I do it not to be mean in any way, but woodworking or whatever, are you making more than $5,000 a year?
Right.
And if the answer is no, well then potentially, is it really working? Even your profit margins, we won't get into that too much today, but if you're selling the woodworking thing for 100, but it takes you 4 hours to make, how much, you know what I mean? Like, what, you had some marketing there, and if you're making $10 on a piece of wood, candidly, it'd be easier for you to go make money delivering to Amazon. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, what does that look like from a scalability and all that fun stuff from the income? The other thing I wrote down when we were talking was, when we write it down, in addition to writing it down, put a toll gate and a date behind it. That'll really mess you up.
Make it really real.
Yeah. That's what you have to do.
Yes.
Like, all right, you're starting to write it down, but from writing it down, like, all right, in the next 2 weeks I'll do this, in the next 3 weeks I'll do this, like, and don't do 5 years. Like, that's nothing will get done, and you'll get frustrated. Like, if God's put something on your heart, let's go with it. But give yourself goals. But then it's okay to push the timeline if you don't hit it. But don't keep kicking it down the field because you're kicking it down the field. Like at some point, you have to, I won't get into this today too much, but that's why you have to be very diligent with your time. When I coach people, when I coach churches, one of the first things I do, faith-wise, I say, what's your morning look like? Did you spend time with Jesus? This isn't that day. But the second thing I ask, what does your schedule look like? Yeah. In different countries, they say, what's your diary look like? And here's what I'll do. I'll say, show me your schedule. Mm-hmm. And I'll show you your success level. Because if you're reactive versus proactive, then you're just stuff is happening and then you're responding to the thing. But if you actually have, I actually had a meeting last night around this. Like I spent an hour, like when I talk about this stuff, I invest in it myself. You know what I mean? Like last night I was on a call for an hour with some people from Australia that were talking about this exact thing. From a scheduling standpoint and writing it down, a lot of times we don't make margin for creativity, we don't make margin for building the business, and even for you, Dr. Rosie, it would be creating margin to invest in someone or the people development. Because a lot of times we think people are going to walk through the door like, how Dr. Rosie, can I be your marketing manager? Like, I was a millionaire and I just want to give you my time. That could happen, but a lot of times it's us driving that too and being intentional with our time. Like for me and my schedule, I have it marked out. My team will tell you, you know, first is Jesus. My mornings are with the Lord. And if I don't do that, the rest of the day will suffer and some will end up on the receiving side of something that's not healthy and good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're all, you know, we all know that, but it's time with the Lord. And then from that, it's family, getting the family out the door and all that fun stuff. And then from there, it's day development. Then it's creativity. And then it's, you know, what do I need to do in the next, you know, day, 7 days, 3 months, 3 years. Like I think through all that. Not every day works out perfect. Like yesterday I did a funeral service. I was locked in. That was what I was called to do. So good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For products and services, it's not really huge for this group here, but it could be kind of basic, or it could be from a design plan standpoint. That's kind of where the collaboration comes in. If you have a product, it could be like 3D mock-ups and stuff like that. Like that didn't exist a little bit ago. Testing is a big thing. Testing in our kind of, even from what this one looks like, testing could be something like the price point would be a big one. Like for the product that you have, like, all right, this is my price point, but is it working? So I could have so many clients. Haircut's a great example. But haircuts would be a great example, right? So say my day could be busy, but I could charge $20 a cut, or I could limit my clientele and I could charge $50.
I just need
so
some
it could
more.
be the same for your business too. So that could be a great way to kind of test the market and, you know, am I charging not enough or am I charging too much? Sometimes from an industry perspective, it could be strange where you could be charging less than the market, but then people don't hire you because they think they're getting less than quality work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's where kind of testing goes into it. Marketing, we talked about a little bit as well. I won't spend too much time on that. But, you know, what does it look like? How do you roll it out? What's your capital and finances look like? Do you have a web page? Do you need a web page? I remember I met someone at Dr. Rosie's graduation, and I asked them. I actually wanted to take part in their business. I wanted it, but they didn't have they didn't have a card. They didn't have anything to share with me at the time. Like if you're going to talk about your business, be prepared to capitalize on the opportunities. Like I remember there was someone who did some dog walking, right? There was some painting going on, and again, they weren't necessarily ready at that time to roll that out. But if you put yourself out in the market, be prepared. People are gonna they want to jump on that. So measuring is a big one. I know Dr. Rosie, this is heavy on her heart, and it's heavy on my heart as well. So the aspects of product innovation, we have KPIs, which is key performance indicators. ROIs, return on investment, most of you probably know that. Customer satisfaction plays into that, and market share. I did want to do an example of t-shirts. So it's like the concept of, oh, my company's doing so well, we're doing so good, we're selling a lot of stuff. Well, what does that mean? The only way to determine that is by measuring your business. So not only are we writing down what you want to do, but you also have to write down what's your goals. Like what's your goal for your business? What's your underlying thing for your finances and what you want? The example I was thinking through for all of us today was the concept of a t-shirt, right? So say I have a t-shirt shop and there's no brick and mortar, so I can't go in the store and buy it, so it's all online. Easy peasy. So marketing wise and all that's going well, so I have basically my web traffic, I have 10,000 people going to a page a day. Does that sound like a lot? 10,000 people a day? I think it's huge. But people would dream for those kind of numbers. But then what if it generates 2 shirts a day? If I sell 2 shirts a day, is that a lot?
No.
It's probably not a lot. 2 shirts a day times 30 days a year, so you're selling 60 shirts a month. And this is where key performance indicators play into it. So say if my profit margin on one shirt is $5. Does that sound like a lot? Not usually. Usually you should double it with retail. But $5 is not a lot. But again, you had to pay for the marketing, you had to to pay for the customer to get there. You're paying for, Mr. Jimmy over here says, I'm going to bring you 10,000 people to your page, but if your page isn't great, if your follow-through isn't great, your customer service isn't great, and then you can't get the product out, like all that's playing into it. 2 shirts a day at $5, give or take, for 12 months, you're looking at about $3,600 in profit from 2 shirts a day. So that's where key performance indicators, so as you're praying about your businesses or your laundromat, like again, if the rent of your laundromat is $2,000 a month, well, you're gonna have to make $5,000 a month, because you got to make some money there, right? You got to you have to fix some of the machines and some of that fun stuff too. So all that's got to play into your business with your key performance indicators. Now, what happens if you're still, as you look at your key performance, you're like, all right, I got to change something. Like that two shirts is not working. So if you change it, model it, and maybe put like your sales shirts on the front page, whatever the thing is, this is where the collaboration comes in. So if you turn that 10,000 hits on your selling 5,000 shirts a month, now we're looking at that's 300,000 a year in profit. So again, that's why if you don't measure stuff, if you don't measure it, it won't get done.
Right.
A lot of people don't measure because they're scared of it. Like, oh, my business is doing good. And my question is always, show me. Show me how it's doing good. Show me your profit, show me your loss, show me your income generation, show me your overhead and all that. And candidly, this is where I come. This is my gifting and skill set. I'll ask the questions that most people ask. Show me how it's doing good. Well, this is what I made last month. I made $1 million last year. How much did you make off the million? A lot of people don't talk about that too. You're making 50 grand off the million. You got to pay attention to something in there that maybe you have to hit a lever to benefit your business. So, good stuff.
Yes.
Excellent.
It's kind of like your personal life as well. Again, if you're working,
Yeah.
you like to brag about your salary. But
Yeah.
at the end of the month,
Yeah.
you don't have anything to show for it. I just said at the end of the year, my son.
Yeah.
And I started saying, listen, at the end of the month, you don't have a certain amount.
Yeah. And then I say, because I work with people like this. I was around the collections arena for a while. Personally for a couple months, but I did it strategically for a while. I would ask, and this is again, the Lord allowed me to be at those organizations and companies so I can ask the hard questions. I would say, what are you spending your money on?
Yeah, right.
It's easy.
Exactly.
I say, how many times are you eating out? What's your phone bill look like? Because you don't need that cable, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not a
Cable.
What's your cable? Like cable? Do you have the NFL package? You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Yeah.
you pay $200 a month on NFL. What?
I don't even watch it.
I'm sorry.
It's crazy. Eating out is crazy.
Oh, it's gonna be crazy. When people
For a family for me to take 2 people out is 50. I got 4 of us, it's 100. We don't eat out anymore. This is a once in a while thing.
Yes.
My wife, as we're starting the business realm, as we're generating other things, she was an executive at Chase. She's not doing that anymore. So it's a couple $100 grand that's not there anymore. So what do? Cable's gone.
Yeah.
It's not it's a want, it ain't a need.
Yes.
So all right, give me internet and then give me the freebies. I'll do the whatever for $5 a month. And you know what's funny? Everybody in my family perfectly happy. Perfectly happy. Netflix went up. Peace, you're out. I'm not doing that anymore. Right? So again, business, it ties into business, personal, all that fun stuff. This is really good.
That's what we always said, make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Time, we good? Are you guys enjoying this or?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. The case study, I want to look at 3 real quick. So we talked about Apple a little bit earlier. So that was the evolution from, like I said earlier, the first model to the most recent model. It's vastly different. I would not go to Apple right now and buy their first phone because, again, remember we talked about phone quality, battery, and all that fun stuff. So that's where their product innovation had to be instrumental in their business growing over the years. So if Apple never innovated, would you still want that phone? No. 100% no. And from Apple's marketing, they're not the best phone out there, which is funny. There are better phones and more resilient phones. I like it because it ties between other things, and that's from a product innovation standpoint. They make it easy for me to enjoy them and like their service. Like I'm using an Apple I'm using a Mac product or an Apple product for my laptop. Right now, my phone's talking to my tablet, and my tablet's talking to my computer. And then I can jump on my phone this morning and look at the notes for today and change the notes on my phone for the laptop. You know what I mean? Like it all connects, and that's where product innovation. Apple's done a really good job of getting in your kitchen and staying there and almost making it so you don't want to get rid of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you have to make yourself invaluable. Back in the day it was the dial phones, right? But now you can do text, calls. You can run your business from an Apple iPhone, which is amazing from a technology standpoint. So good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Tesla, we talked about that a little bit earlier. So Tesla is an example of something that has disrupted the automotive industry. Now all the other car makers going, okay, they're doing really well financially. Now we have to develop some sort of electric cars as well. But again, the sustainability for that, from a marketing standpoint, they have to kind of walk through that. But Tesla's was a great example how they basically are embracing new technology. And really, a lot of people, they're focused on the sustainability, right? You have the wind and, all that from a power standpoint. What we talked about earlier, I don't know if the infrastructure is ready for that yet. I will not go buy a Tesla because I don't trust the infrastructure yet. There's a friend in my neighborhood, he just got a Tesla, and he's got to spend a couple grand on getting an electrician to do the charger for the quick charger, and then he's got to go to the gas station, charge his car, and all this crazy stuff. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that. So again, if you look at the cost, but they are an industry disruptor. So what kind of things can we take from that, from a creativity and an advancement standpoint? Airbnb is the last one I want to show you from a case study standpoint. I'm a little old school being when I grew up, this concept didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like some of the Airbnb model is you can have a home, if you have an extra bedroom, you can rent that out on Airbnb to make extra income. It's not something I would do personally, you know what I mean? But some people will do that. The interesting thing about the product innovation standpoint is that if I go on vacation, I can rent I could spend $2,000 on the vacation, but I could maybe spend, maybe charge $1,000 to rent my home out for the week if I was in a region where that makes sense. Now it can offset some of your trips and different things, but from a sustainability standpoint, that didn't exist a couple years ago. So talking about product innovation, talking about disruption, it's pretty fascinating on what the industry's done around Airbnb. They basically transformed the entire hospitality market from a home sharing perspective.
I have a question about that. Where do you think that idea originated? That to change it like that, rent out your room as a vacation, your home as a vacation spot, and do that. That's what's curious to me is those thoughts, they're there, but how, I guess by the spirit you're grabbing them, or collaboration. Any other ideas on where'd they come from?
Go ahead, you got something?
Go ahead.
Well, I believe strongly in the old saying that there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even with when Uber came on,
I was thinking that as soon as you said it.
I wasn't totally like, oh
Yeah.
wow.
Have you used
Because
it
in our
now?
neighborhoods, we always had the jitty man.
Yeah.
We always had the person come before the bus or after the
Yeah.
bus to pick up people. So
Yeah.
that wasn't, they just took it like innovation
Yeah.
to the next level because of the technology. And I too had thoughts as to, wow, getting people to go take, run errands or what have you.
Yeah.
So it's not really anything new, it's just going to the next level. In terms of the Airbnb, that too, people came up with the idea of how can I make money? Think about if you have a big mortgage or what have you, and you want to continue to take vacations or whatever, that's an idea. Sublet, sublease,
Oh,
to
okay.
rent your house or your apartment out. So people come up with ideas because they're just finding ways of making money, making extra income, basically. So I think some of it starts there.
Yeah.
And I think it's all about opportunity.
Absolutely.
If you get all these ideas are out there, but if there's a group of people or a person that has the opportunity to make that idea expand it bigger, so more people, people can take something so small and make it so big if they have the backing, the funding, and they can make it bigger, and it can be bigger so that other people can use it. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for everything that we do. It's always there, but the opportunity is what drives it.
And I think, it's the fear that says, the fear that drives us to say, I can't. It's the capital or the finances that drive us. But Kaylee, if you have a great business model and a great business plan around that you can present, there are people that want to make money, right? And they don't always trust the market. They just don't trust housing. You had COVID that really, disrupted, everything in the last quite a few years. But you have a lot of people that want to invest in small businesses, and they have capital provide that say, all right, I want 10% back a year, whatever the case is. And then for laundromats, that's a great example. Like what differentiates your market, your laundromat from others? You know what I mean? And you're starting to think about it.
Yes.
Not final yet. All right, laundromats is easy. All right, I got to do my thing. I got to do my, all that. I got to clean my clothes. But then what happens different in that? And you're already thinking about, like, upstairs you have you have a meeting place, you have a whatever. Because what are you doing when you do your clothes?
Yes.
You got to sit there. You got to kill time. But what happens if you have meetings up there, or relationships, or whatever the thing was? Whatever it is.
Exactly. There's a lot to do.
Yes,
It's a business concept that is, thanks to Dr. Tully, who has given me so much ideas because I've had them. They've been in here. They've been in here. But I haven't had the opportunity for so long to bring it out, to really realize what he has already put into place here.
Because then it's surrounding yourself with people like Dr. Rosie, because Dr. Rosie will say nothing but you can.
Yes.
And then if people say you can't, you have to limit those voices. Does that make sense? Like Uber, that was one. People's like, no, y'all can't do that.
Yes.
Now look at them now. They're like, I wish I would have invested in something.
I think that's what's driving me now, is that Dr. Tully keeps saying, yes, you can. And here's another idea. You already have it in you. Now grow it. Now here, put it down. She tells me, put it on paper.
Yeah. Now what I'm telling you is put dates behind it. You gotta write that down. And then give yourself a date when you gotta write the dates behind it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great stuff.
Yes.
It is. It's excellent.
We talked about challenges, right? With electric cars, no capital, and things like that. COVID, again, we talked a little bit about that. Resource constraints, and kind of going to the market too quickly with a thing that could go into it from a challenges perspective. Best practices. We need to foster a culture of innovation that encourages creativity and experimentation. We need cross-functional collaboration. This is kind of what I've been talking about this all day. Getting in moments like this, in rooms like this, walking. Dr. Tully is a great example of, hey, I've got this concept for business. Can you talk with me through this concept? Does it make sense? How can I bring it to market? Wherever the case is, that's where the collaboration comes in. And then what does that research and development look like, depending on how big or small your business is? It demonstrates the commitment to long-term growth. And continuous learning and adaptation are essential. Again, talking about Blockbuster. They didn't innovate. They want to stay where they're at. Now they're a joke conception. Kmart's another great example. We remember growing up going Kmart, right? They didn't change. Like, they tried to make the K different, or they tried to change their name or something, but you still went to the store. It was still pretty poor customer service. Nobody really cared. They had the layaway concept, but it was basically, no one was super friendly to you at some point, or at least the one that I grew up by. So again, what does that look like from a product innovation and learning and adaptation?
Before you go on, would you explain why being not afraid of failure is a part of this process?
If you look at and study, you could Google it right now, you'll find more than I can even think of. Most success is driven by failure, or it's driven by some sort of mistakes. There's a lot of products that have come to market that have basically been mistakes. Like rubber is a great example, right? DuPont or whoever created that, and they were working through the product and they made a mistake, and or plastic was it wasn't rubber, it was plastic was a great example of that. That wasn't an intentional product, but everything that we're talking and looking at and writing with is basically a product that came from a mistake. So we can't be afraid to make mistakes, and candidly, I would almost free yourself up, say, I'm probably going to make mistakes. Some of my friends that are millionaires, their first thing they say is, I messed up. I wish I would have known this 5 or 10 years ago. And so you have to be, it's almost simplified, you got to be nice to yourself. Like, all right, I've made a mistake, but if you stay and wallow in that mistake or keep pumping money into a product that's not working,
Right.
that's when you have to shift and change and all that. So it's just like life, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we can be in this room or online and act like we've never made mistakes, we're going to make mistakes. And candidly, we'll probably do it this afternoon or tomorrow, but it's how we respond to those mistakes or those setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And that really comes into the Holy Spirit driving you and letting the Word of God, that's where I come from, it's letting the Word of God dictate who you are and whose you are and what He's got for your life. So, good stuff.
Excellent.
Some of the emerging trends as we're kind of, moving to a close, some of the emerging trends in innovation, artificial intelligence is a big one from driving automation. I think a lot of people are scared of this. But I think of a lot of people, whether you know it or not, or like it or not, this is where the industry is moving. Not the industry, this is where the world is moving. There will be jobs and functions that will go to artificial intelligence. And I think the misunderstanding with artificial intelligence is we think it's this robot going to take over the world from some of the movies and stuff, but it's really not that. Computers and technology and advancement has gotten so good where all the data is almost available to us in a single button press.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've written books in AI. I've written 3 books in maybe 5 hours through AI. So again, it's my concept, it's my principle, it's my idea. It's not an AI-driven thing. I didn't say AI give me a book. I said this is the thing or the theme that I want around it. So again, it's embracing new technologies. It may sound strange, but when my daughter does homework, my daughter's doing more advanced math than I grew up doing, and I candidly can't do it. Like, maybe that started 5th or 6th grade anyway, you know what I'm saying? Can I get amen to that? But for homework for my daughter, I would use AI. What is the algorithm behind A plus B equals C, and what is the organic function that needs to be created? And she would say it would give you a generic answer, but at times it would maybe have her imagine a thought where she was missing in her mathematical equation. But like AI will give you, like it will drive, like even for marketing or business ideas or toll gates, you could even say, I have a laundromat, here's what the income's gonna be, here's what the revenue's gonna be, develop a business plan for me, right? And what it'll do is, it'll take something that could take 3 or 4 days, it could take it down to maybe 30 minutes. Like there's still effort that needs to be involved with it, but again, that's from an emerging trend and innovation standpoint, that's kind of where the market is heading.
That's amazing.
Let me ask you about that. Will that stifle the creativity of humans? I mean, I feel that like we have so much at our hands just readily available.
Yeah.
Where's all the creativity going to come back? And if AI going to do everything for us, how is they?
I think the misunderstanding is kind of like the Holy Spirit. Like we walk in a room like, oh, the Holy Spirit's going to be lightning from the sky and it's going to build my business. That's not how it works. So AI, you have to tell it what to do. Like for you, how long have you been thinking of a business?
This has been in my head since we moved to Delaware in 97,
Yeah.
96, 97.
Yeah.
So since 96, 98, something like that,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a business.
So almost 30 years, 26. Why hasn't it moved forward?
I didn't believe I had the skill set.
Do you think you have the skill set today?
I'm beginning to.
Let me ask you again. Do you think you have the skill set today?
I do. I think I do.
Hold on.
The T-H-I-N.
Yeah.
T-H-I-N-K.
Do you have the skill set to start a business?
Yes.
There it is.
There it is. That's yes.
Yes.
So again, you still, like AI and us,
Yes.
it's sometimes our lack of confidence that,
Yes.
that we
Yes.
still have to pour in AI and tell it what to do or whatever. So, yeah.
Yes, it is.
But it's also our self-talk.
Yes.
That's we can talk about product innovation all we want, but sometimes our self-talk is self-sabotaging. I think I can do it. I might be able to do it. And that 5 years turned into 10, turned into 20 to 26, and you're going to be at 30 years having the same discussion.
Yes.
So write that down. By this date, I'm going to do this thing.
Yes.
But I know we're all going to leave today a little fired up and a little excited.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm excited.
Yes, I am. I am excited. Yeah. I've been excited since January.
You should be.
Since meeting Dr. Tully, I've been excited.
That's how I am too.
Aw.
And I think something this young man said back here, it has to frustrate you, that you're something you're frustrated about.
Yeah.
And I remember being in a meeting, it was a reentry group. And this one particular gentleman was sharing something he wanted to do. And then he said, I need help. I heard it. And what's in me wanted to actually counsel him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in a proper setting atmosphere,
Yes.
but I see that's the thing. You gotta, the Spirit gives you the ability
Yeah.
to also hear and see what is not on the surface.
Yeah.
And the guys, because most guys in the room, I was only female, and women probably hear differently than men, pick up certain things, I
Yeah.
should say. And so I said to him at the meeting, I said, I heard what you said. And basically he was crying out for help.
Yeah.
Nobody heard that.
Yeah.
He was just like, kind of like business as usual. So next page. I was like, I hope his brother gets the services that he needs.
Yeah.
I think mine right now, like I explained to you earlier, is that I have a crossroad, kind of a crossroad, a road. I'm at this crossroad. I can go up, I can go down, I can go left or right, I can stay right in the middle. I have to do something different because
You have to change your crossroad.
yes.
You drew it for me earlier. You keep drawing this, a crossroad. All we see in this room is one road like this. You know what I mean?
So that's my road.
You can't go left, you can't go right, you only move forward.
Amen.
You're struggling because you're saying, Lord, do I go left, right, straight, north, south, east, or west? He's already told you to go north. I think some of the challenges, you're like, we're walking in circles, like, oh, maybe it's over here. That's where the focus comes in. You being in this room today is already having you move north and move forward to your God-given dream and destiny. Which is part of my calling is, I don't want any money from this. This is what I'm called to do. I am a natural encourager. That is what I'm called to do. And I am blessed to be able to do what I do for a living. I will never not do that from a pastoral standpoint. But the Lord's not wasting some of the gifts that I've had from the last 30 years either. Because I can speak to businesses and marketplace leaders like, others can't because I've been in it for so long. Does that make sense? But here's what's crazy. Like at the time when I was in it, I hated it. I did not like it. I did not want to do it. I said, I'm not going to be one of those corporate guys that's like suited up like a robot. I said it. I said it all the time. Looking back, I am who I am today because I pushed through and learned the skill sets that I really didn't want to learn. So now I can sit with millionaires and not miss a beat. This is God. The crazy thing, it's not me. Does that make sense? Like, again, it's not. I am not good enough. I'm telling you, like, I am not good enough. Like, I stand here, a humbled man, and say it's only by the grace of God that we all get to connect and hang out. Like, you even started marking that. So that should go in your PowerPoint presentation or whatever you write down.
Yes.
Which really goes back to the Bible and your daily affirmations on, again, who you are marketplace-wise and who you are as a believer. Like, I have a list of things, because the world will tell us we're not good enough, we're not capable, the message you preached yesterday was bad, whatever the thing is, the enemy will try to infiltrate your mind that way, but at some point you have to renew your mind, which we know biblically, and then just remind yourself, based on what the Word of God says, on who we are.
That's
That
true.
He does have a plan and purpose for our lives, plans to prosper us, not to harm us. Good?
Yeah, I want to add something to that right there because what's happening with the technology was totally unexpected.
Yeah.
But I am going to send this video to everybody who's on the list. So even those who did not weren't anticipating that they would be able to come in person or online will have access to it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone online. We're glad you're watching this, and we all know. I think we can do this as many times as we all need to because God did it. But here's what happens: is
Right.
the topics change because of the dynamics of the room, because of what your giftings and what your business are. Does that make sense?
It does.
Like, the different things that we bring up, and that's, I think, as if we had 30 people in here now it's, not quantity wise, but it's like now the different ideas and concepts, because then you're encouraged by something that's maybe you have a stopping point on why you're not able to move forward with clarity or whatever the case is. Like, we're better because of each other, right?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
The Internet of Things, it's the connection to devices to make products smarter. Making products smarter, here's where we're headed. You walk in the mall, walk to the corner store, whatever the case is, you're going to get a coupon for the corner store across the street, 50% off a soda, and you're going, what are you going to do? You're going to go buy a soda. We're almost there, because again, almost everyone has smartphones. And if you keep it on from a location device standpoint and all that, and you allow more marketing to infiltrate your phone, everybody already knows you have a conversation about something. If you're not careful, what do you get marketed? It's already happening, actually.
It's already there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your phone's on right now, most likely what will happen is you'll get something around product innovation this afternoon. You know what I'm saying? So we think it's a far off thing, but actually it's already occurring.
Yes.
But then how do you include your business in that, right? If I go to Google your business, there's a guy that I know that owns a car business. I still can't find where it is. I still can't find the website for it, but he's told me the name and all that fun stuff. So again, there's a missed opportunity from a business standpoint with the lack of innovation. Sustainability is a big thing right now, wind power and all that. Eco-friendly things, so how do we kind of capitalize on that? It's even like cleaning products too, same thing, like, all right, what kind of cleaning products do you use? Like, people may ask you or may not, but they may start to, kind of ask, well, what is that thing? And the smell's different, and because a lot of people, like in homes specifically, they want the eco-friendly things for my dog, for my cats, my kids, and all that. So eco-friendly things are a big thing right now. Personalization is big. Like, what happens if you could develop for something for me that's specifically for Lazarus, that's specifically for Dr. Rosie Tooley from a business or marketing plan? Because anyone can get a generic big thing off the shelf, but you know what's crazy is nobody wants that anymore. Like, nobody wants a thing off the shelf. Like, well, how is this mine? Because everybody else has got the same cup, the same folder. Like, everyone wants it to say, Dr. Rosie or whatever the case is. Like, how do you personalize your business for your industry? It's good.
It's excellent.
Takeaways, innovation, we talked about that. Don't stay where you're at. You need a structured process. It ensures effective product development. Structured process is, how do I take it to market? What are some of the toll gates we talked about? What does that look like? Even as you roll out contracts, right? Is the way you roll out contracts, does that still work? Is it a digital thing, or is it some kind of fax that I have to send over or sign? You know what I mean? Like, all those play into it. I can tell you how successful your business is or how professional you are by what things you send to me or what data you send and how you want it back. Like, if you tell me to walk to a fax, like, I can tell you already from a technology standpoint kind of where your businesses are. Some industries still need it legally, take that out of it, but from a creativity standpoint, if I'm sending you a fax, like, I don't have a fax machine. You know what I mean? Like, everything again is, it's scanned document on your phone does it. I'm gonna scan that document and we'll send it to you. Like, fax, what? So that's kind of where the product development comes in. Learning from successful innovators, learning from each other, learning from different industries. That is key, because the t-shirt thing can translate to the marketing thing, can translate to the business thing, and it all ties together. Staying aware of future trends and best practices. We talked about master classes. Networking has probably been one, now this is my gifting as relationship management, but networking has probably been one of the most favorite things, and probably the best way I've gotten where I am is because of people and network and the networking that I've done. And I just listen like you do. I can see that's your gifting already. Listening, hearing people, hearing the thing behind the thing. Like people say something, but you're like, I hear something different. Like that's not a common gift. Because most people just move past, like, oh, no. Like, no. We are hanging out today for such a time as this for a reason. Like, the Lord placed us in this room together. And I'll even go as far as to reach out to people, and it may feel like pestering. Well, I don't want to bother them. No, you were in the same room together, and you took my number, and I'm going to call you, I'm going to email you, because I want to know how you got there. When I was around the golf industry, it was basically I would play golf with governors of the state back in the day, because I was with NBA at their golf course. And I was a decent golfer at the time, so I would be with millionaires and presidents and top threes of the company. Like I knew their kids. I would get them, golf shirts or whatever. Like I knew exactly what they wanted, and I would ask them questions. What's your investments look like? What's your time look like? What's the industry look like? What does this look like if I have this degree or that degree or no degree? Like what does that look like? I would just ask questions. I try to ask enough questions where you got to be careful self-awareness where it's not pestering. Mm-hmm. It's curiosity. Like always be curious. Always be open to relationships and always be curious. Like never feel guilty or bad for asking questions. I've heard a lot of millionaires that I know are very, very curious. That's where the other businesses come in, and that's where more income generation comes in. Is just they're curious and ask questions. Like no, like go to my webpage. Like no, we are hanging out today. Like I met you on the street today. Like you have to be ready in and out of season.
That's right.
It could be a gas station. It could be whatever the case is.
Yeah, absolutely. Church
So-
could be ready.
Yeah, we had church this morning.
Ministry.
And that's it. We kind of did Q&A as we went. But thank you guys so much for allowing me to come and spend time with you guys. And we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Woo-hoo!
Oh, thank you.
Online, love you. We'll see you soon. We'll see you in the room next time.
That's right.
Thank you, Dr. Rosie, for everything. Yeah.
And thank you for that, sharing all that information. That was a blessing.
Yeah.
And I'm just lit up. Thank you.
That's what he does.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much. Okay.